Alright, hello everyone, it's the Venus Project. What are we? No, I don't even know what our group is anymore. Sorry. But yeah, we're doing the TROM series with the guys from TVP Activism England. And so this week, what we go over? We went over laws, then justice, then the last one was consumption and poor quality. So we'll go through those and with some points that we were raised and basically talk through all these. And at some point we might get a guy called Stephen Black jumping in to tell us some interesting news. But that's as and when we'll see. If not, then I'll let you guys know next week what he's got to say. Sounds interesting. Don't want to give it away. All right. So laws. Does anyone know anything straight off the bat?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just that stuff. I'll just start off by saying it's weird. I did remember it. It was actually the infamous talk with Jordan Finch and Mick and myself, and we were talking about kitchens and stuff. It was a grand theme. It was rooted in basically what's allowed and what's not allowed, and how those terms don't actually apply to resource-based economy concepts. But then it sort of got a bit further with Jordan defending the side that laws somehow prevent crime, and I've actually written laws do not prevent anything. It's a failed attempt to do so. Like, challenge me if you think you have examples. I'm only saying that because by saying that laws prevent crime, you're literally saying there is no rape in the world, nobody kills anybody, there are no drink people after certain periods of time, nobody crashes cars, no people are abducted, stolen, there's no thefts, there's no crime whatsoever. Like, you're literally depicting a functional society. But if that's not true, then that's it. My argument already works.
Let me take what he would say anyway then, which is, it's not fully, but surely it has some effect. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what the kind of next step I would see from someone arguing this point.
I think people get sort of misguided when they sort of think like, oh well, like rape's definitely wrong and killing someone's definitely wrong, so therefore having a law in place must prevent it. Like, you can still go to jail or whatever, but if someone's going to kill someone, they're still going to kill someone.
Precisely.
I think James Randi, he's a guy that studied like high class criminals for a few decades, and basically what he found was a lot of the high class criminals who go around on killing rampages, they value their pride more than their life. Because of that, the threat of jail or the threat of punishment is nothing to them over their pride, and that's why they do a lot of these crimes. It's insecurities. It's getting back at someone who called them a puff or who bullied them all their lives and their insecurities, etc. So the idea that the idea that jail. I mean, sure, I think it probably deteriorates some crimes, some more petty crimes, but a lot of these really big crimes that we talk about, rape and child abuse and extreme violence, these are crimes that are just an absolute emotional overload in a person, and logic won't play much of a part in that.
Yeah, and some guy's going to come up to a guy that's seeing absolute red about, like, halfway through a killing spree or something, or about to kill somebody or something like that, and you're going to go, but law 47 says, no, you're just going to get killed yourself. You know what I mean?
I've got an example, actually. I just watched Robert Spolsky, Aggression #3, and it was on the second half of it, where he said that in the states where killing people for killing people, I forgot what it's called, in those states, the premeditated murders, so like a hitman or whatever, would think about it first. Whereas, like in the bar, like after they've had a beer when they've been insulted, again they don't think about it. They just do it. So, like, he's saying that yes, the law doesn't affect the person, like the crimes of passion sort of thing, but in a way it does make somebody think about it first if it's a premeditated crime, I think it was.
I think fundamentally though, as a human being, you kind of have that embedded in you to kind of understand the idea of right and wrong.
Yeah.
You don't need somebody to like tell you that killing somebody is wrong just because it's ruinous.
Well, you say that, but like I don't know. I think maybe if I was an 8-year-old that was allowed to run around with some heavy machinery, I could well like kill someone without like I don't know. This is just what I think. Like,
What you mean before you've got a concept of like your own life and stuff like that? So killing somebody's nothing because you don't really understand the concept of
Yeah.
it.
It's supported, by the way. Aiden, your view is supported by a story which was propped up just, fuck it, let's approximate, a year ago. 5-year-old, gun in the drawer, let's remember. Grandfather's gun, only a 5-year-old toddler, gun in a drawer, toddler gets a gun, shoots, I cannot remember what family member it was. Regardless, though, a life was taken, and it was literally just a dude, goo goo gaga, bam, that's it. It was just as simple as that. So, yeah, it's, it's undeniable. Like, if no concept exists, you just play with it like any fucking train or car or whatever.
I mean, the thing is, the kid must have at least had some conditioning environmentally to know, like from TV or whatever, to know that you point a gun at someone and you pull the trigger. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good point. I have no idea, man. Sorry, it's just I really just hazily sort of remember that story coming through.
I just think like it's especially for small children. It's more a role of the environment.
Yeah. Like Sabowski was talking about your social peers helping you learn as a child what's right and wrong. So obviously you need that. I don't know. You need to be taught while you're young that it's wrong.
Man, you bring up a good point. How many of you actually tried to ever in your childhood drown a cat?
No.
What, sorry?
To drown a cat. Any of you actually attempted it?
You know, my friend put a pitchfork through a goose to impress his other friends. They would all that.
See, but that's the thing. I'm asking only because I really was the guy who would climb trees, build little houses in trees and shit. We literally had a little crew of kids who would just play, quote unquote, war. Like, you hide in tall grass and whatever. And one of those explorations just happened to be taking a kitten and see what's gonna happen if I put him in a fucking toilet. I literally did that when I was a kid. And I remember I was fucking demonized. Like, you have no idea how long people in my particular, like in the block of flats, everyone who was with a pulse shouted at me for fucking hours. Like, that day, there was no rest. Everybody looked at me like I'm a fucking Hitler, man.
But if somebody was there at the side of you and said, "Look, if you put that cat in there, it's going to die, mate," you know what I mean? If they
Right,
shot you or
right.
something, you know what I mean? You wouldn't have done that, so it's not your fault, right?
But I'm just saying, like, these things, it's I don't know, man. It's quite a thing. I just now remember it, and it's like, Jesus, what the fuck, man? And I actually did
I mean,
that.
but like childhood's an interesting thing because you kind of, you are experimenting with reality, as it were, and you kind of like, I suppose, like, so long as afterwards, I suppose you go like, oh fuck, like, and actually have that realization of, okay, that was wrong, and it's a natural process, really, to kind of explore that kind of thing, I suppose.
I think definitely exploring it, yeah, but I think that the conclusions people make, there's no natural conclusion necessarily. Like, I mean, in certain cultures, killing certain people or animals in certain ways is, like, it's glorious.
Oh, yeah, there's, like, guys from these Islamic videos or whatever with a cat's head in his, like, one arm, and, the guy's got the body, and it's just like, so you're old enough to know better now, like.
But see, this is the thing. I mean, look, how many films have been made about this part of the human psyche where the film basically fixates on the part where there is I don't know how to call it. It's like a timed murder in progress, right? The person puts it on the web live, and it's happening. The person is about to drown, be sliced, or be whatever the fuck, and it's basically the murder is gonna increase in speed or decrease in speed. The more people watch it, is gonna increase. The less people watch it, is gonna stop. Now, this is the thing. I mean, ads. You brought up a very valid point. That concept of somebody carrying a cat and like essentially just what titillating or peacocking with that concept, I suppose. Is that right? There was why else would such videos appear? Such as what was that? One guy, one hammer, or some shit, or right? I mean, it's fucked up. Like literally, two Russian dudes just fucking clobber a guy's face in a forest, and it's just fucking filmed. There is no conclusion to it. You just watched a homicide. Like there's nothing, and it's all because of views. There is nothing else. Like you film it. Why the fuck would you film it and release it on the net?
Yeah, maybe that's to do with like fucking boredom and social, like I don't know, trying to look like showing up, like you say, peacocking. They've no idea what else to do with their lives except try and impress people.
Yeah, it's like in America, you get all these shootings and stuff, and it's like, like some of them are thinking, we're going down in infamy in the media and everyone remembers me and stuff like that. It's like, well, that's a kind of social construct that we've come to about infamy, as it were, and what that exactly is really, like if you're famous for that, then.
It's a shame. It's a shame because you bring up the. I actually remember literally watching some video, but I cannot for the life of me remember who reported it. There was literally a thing that used those words itself, like the words infamy. They were used, especially talking about that school Columbine shooting. Yeah.
Yeah, was it that Joker guy? The guy that was like kind of dressed up as a Joker or something like that, wasn't it?
I can't remember. Sorry.
I think I mean, like the guy. Oh no, wait, no, I mentioned the wrong guy earlier. James Randi. That's definitely not who I was on about. 1 sec, I'll get the name of the guy. Is that James Gilligan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Randy, I was like, he's a magician, bro. I'm like.
Yeah. Is that who you were referencing as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool. I was thinking as well, because I mean the whole topic of free will seems to me like it covers so much, and I was thinking, what is law without free will? So disregard a resource-based economy. If we take out of the equation the concept of free will and shame and blame, then what is war? I mean, law. What is law? Like, what purpose does it serve? And I mean, for me, that purpose is to, rehabilitate, obviously, and detain for the sake of community health and safety. And that doesn't see. That's like, I mean, that's like a small part of it in a lot of systems in the world.
I think it's like really like typical sort of Western sort of thinking, in the East, they like say if you've got a disease or something, but like I know I'm like kind of like diverging a little bit, but they treat the illness and not the actual symptoms of the illness. Like we do, we treat the symptoms of the illness in hospital. It's the same sort of concept that we need to sort of apply to prisons, because you're not treating the actual illness or the initial problem. You just sort of say, all right, well, you've stolen. I think Jack says something like, you've stolen a watch, so you can go to jail for 8 years, or if your third strike, so you go to jail for 22 years. Mental. Absolutely mental. Like Jack says, give the guy a watch, or,
Right.
Train the guy so he can afford to buy a watch.
It's that, and also, really, with all this that so far was discussed, we can actually build quite a nice, tangible database of how things actually connect, the concepts. Tom, you mentioned free will. Mick, you mentioned watching Robert Sapolsky's lecture. Well, lo and behold, his conversation with Alan Alda about exactly that, the justice system, and how Robert Sapolsky reinforced that hypothesis of Jacques numerous times, whereby the law and justice system just do not, and, well, quote-unquote, cannot sit in the same room as the current scientific understanding of the human brain and the human behavior. So it's already like there's no debate. Like, it's already there. It's just the same way how. I mean, look, why the fuck don't we actually have the hovering cars? Why don't we have the resource-based economies? Because the people at the top don't listen to the scientists. They fucking said that global warming started in, like, what, 75? There was already, you know. So.
It's like blowing the whistle since 75.
Right.
Nothing has happened.
Right.
Like the current law system, I think it's just an old notion of people wanting to blame somebody for the bad things. Like in the back, like way back, it was, oh, this God did it because we did something, and whose fault is it? You know, like we've grown up feeling that we need to blame people. It's always somebody's fault. So I think that's an old notion that needs to be got rid of.
I mean, it's an
Point the finger and take on the responsibilities.
yeah, and it's an emotional response because I can say quite solidly that if someone that I loved was hurt by someone else, that I would not think rationally, and that I'd likely like maybe now this is what I think, maybe I'd begin to behave based on my early social conditioning, whereby I'd want to extract revenge because, you know, I was very emotional as a teenager, and I believed in these notions of like pride and revenge and, you know, fighting and physical violence. But I don't know if my reaction would be to revert back to those conditioning states, or whether I would, because I would be so emotional, I would like revert to a more basic behavior, which is like natural kind of thing to revert to without the right conditioning, and you know, become violent, etc. Because in that situation, it's just you need to do whatever you can to you know, support your emotional balance, and if that means, you know, destroying whatever's destroying your emotional balance, and that so be it, kind of thing. It's not rational, but that shouldn't. Sorry.
I suppose it depends on like how much like your sister's been hurt, if she's just been like dead armed, or if she's been like attacked to death. Like and like where you are at the time. Like if you're halfway across the world and you've got to take time to get back across the world to exact revenge, you might have had time to think about it as well.
Oh, wow. That's an awesome point.
And I mean, regardless, this isn't the kind of philosophy that we should be basing our structural, you know, mechanisms on. aka the law shouldn't be based on emotional reaction, should be based on providing you know, the best for as many people, and that would be rehabilitation, etc.
I think just kind of coming in with laws and how they like came about goes, well, back to the video that we watched the other day, Tom, which will be on the radio show tomorrow, which is the God story, where Jacques talks about how God came into being, and basically it explains how you you have a guy who kind of does a bit of magic, and creates these guys, and creates like these guys to be really scared, and you guilt trip them into listening to these rules, and because what there's the quote is something like a priest, or in this case like someone who teaches law, puts a policeman into everyone's heads rather than having actually someone there with a gun controlling people. And it is this control mechanism. Like earlier on, notice it sounded like right at the start, it sounded like you're saying laws do nothing, whereas they do nothing good, like nothing use for man, but they do represent like a certain people. They do provide those people in control with differential advantage. That's what they do. They also split us into divide and conquer. Like they said it in the Stanford Beer one. Like they showed it in the Stanford Beer. Even the prisoners, they were sitting there chanting, "Prisoner 418 did a bad thing." They split the prisoners into us and them, and they're already a them compared to the people who are not prisoners. It's all divide and conquer, like, and all that kind of other stuff. Control mechanisms. That's it.
See,
So like,
sorry.
so it was efficient in the olden days to where scarcity was, but now we can do things abundantly, so we don't need these laws anymore.
It wasn't efficient. I don't think it was ever efficient. I think it was.
It was easy to put so many policemen outside everybody's house.
It was useful for the people who had things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting thing you brought up because I often wonder if we can't create an abundance, what kind of other systems would work? So, if, resource-based economy, as we know it or as we advocate, relies on the principle of abundance, basically. And in, say, a society hundreds of years ago, like we're talking about the origins of law, what kind of alternatives would you suggest for that society with that technology?
Without that technology, I mean, I think it is. I think it's a necessary stepping stone that we've had to take as a species. But I think obviously, you outgrow that. It's outdated now. But yeah, I don't think there was really. I mean, religion is just another form of law, right and wrong, all of that. I think the problem is, obviously, if your village is starving to death, and the village across the way has got loads of food, you just need to go ransacking, and take what you need to survive. That's a survival option. So I think, now, fair enough, like, you might not need that thing. I mean, scientifically speaking, you can actually create abundance now. So you have the resources at your fingertips. Say, if you have like unlimited energy to create a system whereby you can help people in these situations if they have some sort of psychosis developing, and sort of guide them back in the right direction.
I guess to that question, I would basically say I don't want to answer. You know what I mean? I don't think it's worth thinking about what ifs 200 years ago. Like I would maybe rephrase the question of, what if there was a resource in the future that was scarce, and how would you deal with that?
I think
I mainly asked for personal reasons because in the stuff I'm writing, I'm trying to immerse a reader into a world where there's a variety of different social systems, and so far I've got one that's kind of like resource-based economy and one that's kind of like capitalism. How I'm stuck for ideas. So sorry for being selfish, but I did have a question, and that was how I think a person would respond to what you just said. Is it ADIS? Is that how you ads?
Yeah.
How do I pronounce ads? ADIS.
It is ads.
Ads. Okay. How I think a person would respond to that would be that typically they'd say, "What about people who are just violent kind of thing?"
But you mean you're talking about the genes, the way genes, and they say there's a bad gene and all of this.
Yeah, I mean, if you, I think one common response would be you can provide abundance, but then there's still going to be disputes and violence. And
the problem is that I think a lot of violence is obviously based on somebody having more than another person. I think, so far as saying that there are genes that make people bad or more aggressive or more violent, I think there's environmental triggers that allow those genes to be brought forward and express themselves. So if the person is prone to drink alcohol and get aggressive and beat people up, then you just steer them in a different direction environmentally, because like weed. Whatever. It's just a matter of changing the environmental construct around these people to not allow those genes to express themselves.
What about guys who watch the Sapolsky lectures? You guys know about this. But, what about cases where, say, for some industrial accident happens and someone gets their neocortex blown off, and based on their behavior, they're really unrestrained and aggressive?
Yeah.
What do you do with that person if they're in a world with no law?
Restrain them and 3D print his brain back.
Ooh.
That's awesome response, bro.
if possible. If not, I don't know, put him out of his misery or something. Genocide.
That's a really good. That's a really good point that you brought.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think that's a good point that you just brought up, Mick. Because the answer that I would have said would be restrain them and try and treat it however we can. But then, I mean, you brought up the fact that our technology is exploding at such a rate that we're getting to the point where that kind of thing is possible in the near future. Yeah, I mean, especially if we facilitate scientific discovery in the environment.
Like as we go forwards, you could maybe replace parts of the brain with a chip that inhibits that sort of that function of the brain. That's what they're doing essentially when they're creating these. They're just like putting a chip into the brain and you can just like limb by it. You know, it's the same sort of concept that you're plugging into the neural cortex. So yeah, maybe you could go down that avenue.
See, this is the thing, and all of it revolves around this one thing. I just made a note of laws will be diminished directly in proportion to how much scarcity will be present. And that's it. There is no other answer. Like, you can pray for aluminium to be abundant, but fuck all is going to happen. I mean, really, it's an actual physical thing that is missing. Like your purse or wallet or fucking piece of banana or whatever. You know, you can't pray shit into physical existence. Or so far as we know, it's not possible. So it's just the answer will be as good or as terrifying or as comfortable or as not as the tech of the time will allow. And as the social understanding will allow. Because that's the thing. I mean, Tom, when you asked that question previously, I just imagine a small group of people, like you said, you know, what other social systems would work. They all would work as well as the people in that circle of friends would understand what the fuck is going on. Like, if nobody knows how to make a fire with sticks, like when you're just bare bones out in the wilderness, that's it. You die of cold. There's no ifs or buts about it. You will die. At least I don't know of any. I don't know.
So, like in the future, when things are less scarce, then maybe as well with changes values. Like, I think in this culture, has anybody seen the experiment they did with the two monkeys, with the cucumber and the grapes? And until the second monkey saw that the first monkey got a grape, then he was happy with the cucumber, and he would have carried on being happy with the cucumber. So maybe in the future, like, when we've got plenty of everything, we'll be more interested in what we've got ourselves, or like what we've got access to ourselves, instead of looking at what other people have got and being jealous of it. So it, like you say, it just depends on what we've got, how much abundance we've got in the future.
Not necessarily. There's also the one part is definitely the main driver now. Why? See, this is the fucking paradox now, right? You look at a girl's cleavage. All of a sudden you've offended her, depending on obviously the lady's upbringing. However, what the lady in question doesn't fucking see immediately is, how about I ask him what fucking magazines he reads, or what kind of street he passes through, so that he sees 30 fucking billboards on his way to my home of people with lingerie and fucking weird fucking disfigured women, you know, in poses that you'd never fucking see in real life ever. Like, there is not one fucking woman I've seen in real life that would literally behave in these fucking contortionate ways, you know, in like a store or a fucking market buying potatoes or something, you know what I mean? So it's all that conditioning stuff, and like you said, abundance combined with nobody pushing shit on you. That's the fucking thing. Everybody would be a researcher. You'd come up to a fucking cucumber and just like, you know what? To my taste receptors, and that not for me. I'm actually much happier with whatever, potatoes and fucking biscuits or what have you. So instead of, like you said, yeah.
If you have the abundance where it's like, oh, okay, that guy's got grapes, and I've got this cucumber. You can just go down to wherever you get food, like take a grape and job done, you know.
And that's a problem with a lot of kind of groundwork studies, or studies done at least in the past, I think, is that they don't study the environment like that. It's, you know, they see this monkey getting jealous of the other one when it's given a grape, and it's like, oh shit, you know, it's natural for these monkeys to become jealous and to become competitive, but then it's obviously we'll give them both access to grapes, and you won't see that behavior. And then maybe if you give them access to grapes enough, then when eventually, like, they've got loads and loads and loads, and then 5 years down the line you do this experiment, I'd predict that it'd take longer for that monkey to become jealous, because that monkey would have adapted its values to be used to an environment of abundance. So it'd see the grape maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 times before it's like, wait a minute, now I want one, kind of thing. But then the opposite of that is what we see today. In that, I think you could give people an abundance now, and some people would still be competitive and be, violent towards trying to obtain resources. Not because straight away they're still in that mindset of scarcity. It's that illusionary scarcity.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of, I suppose, scars on your psyche. I suppose to take a while to, maybe generations to get drilled in that, oh, we don't need to get jealous of that person because we can't afford things or whatever.
I think it might. Yeah. I think for young people it wouldn't take quite as long, not nearly as long as old people anyway, because for reasons.
Just looking at the time, guys, we've pretty much done law for a hell of a lot, although justice is fairly similar. You want to kind of go on to anything specific of justice for a couple minutes and then finish up with consumption?
Yeah, I think what was interesting about justice for me, I was watching it, I was just thinking, we always tell people, oh, don't judge a person, you don't know what's happened in life, don't judge a person. We have a freaking profession. Judge is a profession, do you know what I mean? And then, fair enough, you get all this background and make an assessment or whatever, but you can never fucking know. You're never going to know if at the age of 5 or 7 his mum slapped the shit out of him or something like that. You can't tell. So, who are they to judge people?
We should have judges for the judges.
Judges themselves have an interesting time of things, because a judge could say to a jury just before they go in, the law is very clear, and your job is to say whether this very specific act happened at this time or not, and just forget about everything else. That's all you need to know. Or you could say to the jury, come on, the law's here as a guideline, but really we're here to make proper decisions based on the information that's here. Think about the full picture. You can get completely different outcomes just by what they say to the jury as they go in. And their interpretation of what the job is to uphold the law, whether you have to be strict to the law or it's just a guideline, is crazy.
And not just that, when it comes to corporations, which physically don't exist, they don't seem to need to worry about being punished for committing atrocities, whether that be acts of pollution or even, starving somebody, taking somebody's water and then trying to sell it back to them. When it comes to companies, you can just shut down that company and start another company. It's never the CEO that goes to prison or anything. So where's the justice there?
There's something else as well that Jacques said. There's 2 points that Jacques covered very well, and I can't really see any holes in his argument so far. One, in regards to the judges, ads, as you put it, you don't ever know what happened to the childhood of the said criminal. He said that if a judge would see a film, let's say, an educational film of the person's life, and they would see how he's been, beaten around and fucking raped, and, everybody made fun of him and all that, and then he says, Jesus, you waited so many years to kill him? He'd be surprised, because, like you suggested, you never know. I mean, such pain must have been endured by the person who's called a killer. That is just indescribable. So that's one. And then, that's very important that I forgot the other example I had. But the other person, in terms with the lawyers and judges and stuff, I just wrote down here what Fresco even said in the video there. Again, makes sense. Semantics. That's just, I called it sort of law ammo. Fresco bringing up a valid point, semantics being a type of law ammo. The more knowledge of semantics you have, the more ammo you have. Because, I mean, really, then nobody can win against you. You will turn every single word they will use around its fucking head, because the English language on its own, it's just interpretable to no end. So it's just, oh, well, then you are such and such supporter, you're a Satanist or whatever. It's just so easy to turn everything. Right. And I remembered now the point I was trying to make.
Bizarre.
The court, and the judge and lawyers are out to win the case, not to find out the truth. And I absolutely agree with that. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a question of, have you been there on such and such time, yes or no? They don't want to fucking know about the shades of gray, do they? Like, it's just, we're pressed for time, the judge is waiting for another case. You fucking tell me, did you do this or not? Well, there's actually a little bit more. No, there isn't fucking yes or no, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, I've got to put that on speedboat now, so...
Yeah.
There's a thing, I guess, in one of the 70s discs, where Jacques is talking about how, like, way down the line, once all vested interests have gone, that would be the time to start maybe tagging people on ships and stuff like that. So there's no, were you at this place at this time? It would just be on the computer as who was next to who and all this kind of stuff. It requires everything else kind of up to that, because at the moment it's way too open to exploitation.
Yeah, I think you're talking about sort of like monitoring people and stuff like that as well, and like I think that's the problem I have with technology is advancing to a state where we can monitor people and it is physically possible to do that now. And I personally don't particularly have a problem with it so long as the monitoring is in the right hands. I don't think you can ever have that within a system where people have vested interests and are going to want to make sure that people adhere to certain laws and whatever just to stay in control. I don't think who has the power of the technology is really, really important aspect of what's going on. Like, we don't have very long to sort that out. You know what I mean?
It's really interesting how the people who do the monitoring are the least reluctant to give the information up. Like, if the NSA was honest, everything they did would be public domain. Everything they received was released. And I would be kind of okay with that, I think. But then, like, not if they just started releasing everything tomorrow, but if there was a system of monitoring, for instance, if every room just had a camera in it, but it was open access, anyone could be looking at anyone at any time, I wouldn't mind, I don't think. It would be down to people in the future, and it would be embarrassing for people to be viewing it in a time which is inappropriate, if you know what I mean.
I disagree.
Yeah?
Yeah, I disagree only because it's been documented. What you're talking about is called We Live in Public, an experiment, and really a social experiment which is quite fucking lengthy. It was done in 2001, if I recall, by a dude who seems to have invented the whole boom of the internet, how it was used. He was one of the first pioneers who created the videos that are not television based. They were just literally filmed, put on the internet, and that's how the channel gained fame through that method, rather than getting the crew with the expensive cameras on your shoulders, all that kind of stuff. So he was that kind of an entrepreneur. He really was the guy to talk to back then, and he created that complex. He made this area. It was an early attempt, a shit one at that, of total enclosure systems. It really was. It was food, leisure, access to fucking fire range. Jesus. People fucking on anywhere with anyone, and there was no law. There was no one to tell you what you can and cannot do. And there were cameras everywhere. In your bedroom, in your capsule, when you sleep, when you take a shower, when you take a shit. Everything was documented. And in due time, lo and behold, people started to not like that concept at all. Shower scenes of people, can I just fucking get a couple of minutes for myself? It really got agitated. But yeah,
Were they constantly being reinforced that they were being filmed?
I'm sorry?
Were they being reinforced that they were being filmed, or was it just a little camera in the corner?
See, that's a good point. I don't know. It was just there, and it was filmed all the time, 24/7.
I think regardless, nobody needs to freaking see anybody else taking a shower or shit.
It's an experiment. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just a case for having a chip. okay, well, I'm in this room, and that's documented somewhere. But
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe that's not a great example. Here's another one, which would be like medical records. Like all my medical records are private, and you have to go through very specific channels if anyone wants to know them. But I don't know, I could pass out tomorrow or something and be allergic to peanuts, and whoever comes over and tries to help me could have, like, I don't know, could just like try and give me the kiss of life with peanut butter on their lips and just kill me off. You know, this kind of thing. I think it would be better if it was open, but most people wouldn't look.
Yeah, like it's there if it's needed.
I think.
Again,
And
sorry.
okay, say I had piles and I didn't like, because that's what people want privacy for. They want embarrassment. I don't think we're going to have embarrassment. I think if the mindset continues on past free will, all this stuff, environment, like we get past embarrassment and past the need for privacy.
I suppose it's interesting because like you could, unless you're having some sort of heart monitor or you monitor someone's heart and stuff like that, because I think there's some really weird like facts that like 40% of strokes or something happen when people are spraying into shit or something like that. Like, you know, like the amount of people that like might die on the toilet, you know, like I suppose that could be a prevention point for it, you know.
I kind of going on that, I have 2 points to make. I think the first would be that surveillance and observation in a resource-based economy, when we talk about it, we're not talking about cameras necessarily. We're talking about things like in our shower, taking kind of scans for cancer and things like that, or takes our DNA sample whenever we go to the bathroom, kind of things like this.
Yeah.
So it's not looking at people; it's observing using methods that a human being can't. So we can't look at a person and go, you've got a tumor that's going to develop in 20 years' time and give you cancer of the brain. We're using different methods than just a camera. And two, I would be in exactly the same situation. I would be willing to have myself filmed and not willing to have myself filmed based on the society that I'd be living in. So for example, I'd be fine with having a camera in my room in a resource-based economy, and other people wouldn't, but not in this society, because like there's things that I could be discriminated against, and there's reason to want to be confidential.
Say the thing in your room. Say it's not a camera. Say it's like a life monitoring system or something. Say it monitors your heartbeat, and it would like that, because it wouldn't be enforced on anyone. It would have to show benefits to the person, and the benefit would be if you have this if you have a heart attack, you can like go in and call a little robot in to do your defib straight away. If he's not there, then you have to wait for the next human to pop in like half an hour or something, and you might be dead. That kind of thing.
Or even alternatively,
the ways to the camera than filming. Yeah, so like a burger alarm monitors.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing. I agree with, I don't know, man. Look, Aiden and Tom, I agree with you, but only in resource-based economy terms. And ads, you made just one thing which really matters most. So long as there's vested interest in anything, you can't be fucking open. How can you? Like, really, you're gonna get fucked over if that will be, the person's business surviving or your fucking privacy being disclosed. Your privacy is getting out there. He doesn't give a shit. He wants to maintain his Mercedes or the fucking yacht, whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be that extreme either. But it's an advantage game. It's just that. It's just scarcity.
So do you
I
think?
don't think. Sorry.
So do you think at this time, open source designs, programs, all this, like the whole open source movement, is that flawed? Do you think they're I don't think it's perfect, but I don't think they're doing I don't think they're making it worse for themselves. You know what I mean?
It depends, man. Who's got to gain from it? Like, I mean, it comes back to the whole point of why Jacques doesn't fucking share concepts like that. Because who's gonna spend hours and hours? Do you understand that I've literally been watching and rewatching all the lectures I could fucking find online, books, old school lectures. You have to spend so much time, and most of the questions you have will be answered during the fucking probing that you spend time on. How many people will actually spend time on probing? Yeah, fucking sure. Count on one goddamn hand. And then the others want, oh, give me the fucking blueprints for the city. Give me the blueprints for the fucking engineering. Give me the blueprints for the car, the plane, the propellers, and how will they counter-rotate. So it's all that shit. It's still today. It's still, give me the fucking toys. No, I'm not gonna fucking share with anybody else. What, you fucking kidding me? And so all this stuff, no, but you don't understand, it's under a license. So is the fucking law, man. Everybody knows every single time you look at porn now. What does it mean? It's fucking some scribbles on paper that nobody fucking cares about anymore, it seems.
And the
So
thing,
in essence, it's good, right? I'm not arguing against the idea. Idea, very good. But it's as if it's trying to go against the grain, and in some cases it succeeds. I mean, it's creating all these different, let's say, whatever, visual editing programs, right? So somebody who doesn't have the money for professional suites of Photoshop, great, look it up. Open source will definitely hook you up. Video, sound, image editing, perhaps some other software, yeah, no problem. But now you're talking about something like RBE. Do you see the problem? You know, it cannot go. Like, all this tech cannot go without the social understanding of how these things correlate, why they correlate. Why is it not enough then just to share all these drawings and shit? You know?
and on top of that, the
intellectual property, isn't it? Because I suppose while you've got interest to become wealthy from something, you don't want anybody else to have that idea. But it's like if someone came up for a cure for cancer or something like that, you know, like, you know, you're not wanting to share that information with every company in the world because you want to sell it to a company for the biggest price, you know what I mean? Whereas if you were like, this is how you cure cancer, there you go, guys, develop it in the best way you possibly think, you know,
Right.
to every company or whatever, if you think have speculating from that point perspective, you know, like, then you'd be at the end point where you've cured cancer like infinitely quicker.
Yeah.
just going back to just quickly what like what you were saying about why Jacques doesn't those things up as well on like open source things. Well, what people say, this is a mistake quite a lot of people make about law and justice, and they think it's forever. Whereas really, the open source movement currently, like, you can release something open source, license it open source, and no one else is allowed to patent it. That is upheld by law at the moment. Nothing to say 10 years down the line that the government can just say that's our private property and just take it. And,
It's just letters, though. That's the same thing. Virgin told me that I have access to internet. He didn't fucking tell me what parts of the internet, though. The assholes fucking block some pages outright. You literally get a banner saying, sorry, the government and the courts told us that, yeah, this don't go here. Fuck you! I paid a fucking, like, amount of money for a service, and you're limiting a fucking service.
I think it comes to the illusion of authority again, like these people that are limiting the service are saying you're not allowed, and we're saying why not, and who says, and they're saying we say. Well, what gives them the fucking right? I mean, how can they just?
gives them the right is they are like the modern day military arms of these like corporations. They just take things down.
We've got it and you can't have it.
Yeah. There's going to be restricted channels and all this stuff. If it gets down more authoritarian type stuff, it'll be, you know, the people at the top get the information for everyone. Like, this is restricted internet access. This whole net neutrality.
Information is power, isn't it? It's knowledge, and you can use that to your advantage. They're really just going to limit what we can see and do, and then it's higher top, which is why it's imperative that we make sure that the technology is in the right hands prior to this occurring.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the thing is that, like, I don't know, we could well be in the heyday of the internet. We could well get completely corrupted by it.
I hope we're not.
Right. Oh, I don't know if you guys, I don't know really, because obviously it's getting quite, you know, it's now like 9:45. but there's these certain concepts I just wanted to ask you guys about, like such as Fresco's statement about when Romans fed Christians to lions. At that point, it wasn't criminal. Now, if folks did it, perhaps not the best thing to do. But, and this is where I honestly jotted it down with complete utter agreement. But I wrote it down thinking that, so the law concept altogether, it fluctuates as time goes by. You know, black rights, women's rights, child labor. But I'm thinking now, wait, but they used to hang, I'm not going to say black people, just any fucking people, it seems. You know, in the older days, that used to be the stuff. You know, that you don't decapitate, you just hang folks. And I was like, well, no, clearly you're not going to see it now in like 2014. Bam! An article comes out, in India there were 2 girls found hung. And I'm like, well, that's fucking out of the blue. Like, you know, how did this... And so then, yes, certain social trends, it seems, they just drag themselves right on to the nanotech and all the rest, and it doesn't seem to bother certain people's perception. So I don't know if you guys have any sort of insight on whether or not that is more or less true, it seems.
I don't know, if, like, the introduction of hanging, just quickly, when you said that, I was just going to thought, I think, I could be completely wrong, but initially as it kind of like started off, wasn't it to downplay from beheading so that small children get done?
Oh, dude, if that's true, then fucking hell.
I think that kind of I don't know if you'll find it anywhere. It's probably not like that at all, but that's just an idea. I read a lot of books when small children went to head, like, well, this is fictional, but small children go into executions. Anyway. Sorry, what was the actual kind of question?
Entertainment, didn't it? You know, it used to be entertainment, which is absolutely outright disgusting, but, you know, it is in certain places.
It's the public reinforcement of the law. That's what public executions is.
Right.
And then at that point, I always ask, well, what things that I take for granted now may in the future be seen as horrific? And a prime example of that, I think, is the meat industry. A lot of people, I think, underestimate the atrocities of the meat industry, and you know, downplay it a bit. And it's just in general, like, what kind of things maybe do I do, or do other people do around me that in the future will be considered horrific? As horrific as hanging and torture.
Yeah, I think a lot of things will be conceived differently, definitely. But unfortunately, at the present moment in time, you know, it's interesting that, you know, meat actually it allowed us to develop brains to actually ponder the concept and actually come to the conclusion, oh, actually, you know, killing something's wrong. So it's interesting how it's like full circle sort of thing, but. Yeah, we kind of need to apply that, and you know, like I eat meat. It's, you know, I don't agree with the way that it's reared and brought about in the modern economy. But you know, like maybe in the future, if we manage to say, like, create like more land upwards and have like enough energy to create botanical gardens and hydroponic gardens in skyscrapers or whatever, and you have enough grain and everything, that maybe you could give all the land back to the animals and just hunt like we used to do. Yeah, maybe that's a bit more acceptable. And
what about growing a cow in a lab?
yeah, go a steak maybe. Yeah.
Well, that was it though.
Not cow, but steak.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys joke, but it really does sort of.
Conscious because you'd have to kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's the whole point. And plus, I mean, see, this is the thing. It's as if there are steps. What you're discussing is really just kind of steps. I mean, all this Soylent and products like that, you know, when they basically try to develop a synthetic protein and mineral-based drink, it's stuff. Like, I mean, really, when it breaks down, when whatever breaks down in your body, and it does, it still turns out the same shit, you know, and it still comes out through the same end regardless. So it's those bits you need. It's not the ear of a duck or a dick of a horse or whatever that we eat, you know what I mean? It still is just those amino acids, proteins, certain minerals, and you're set. That's it, you know, and you function.
I had a bit of a debate on vegetarianism the other day. Like I'm vegetarian, and the rational argument is that like plants are living as well, and I think it's just
There's actually experiments where you can hook electrodes up to it and actually get a fluctuation out of it. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I thought to myself, like, I don't want to eat or drink or shit or piss. They're four things that are just time consuming and sometimes troublesome. Like, if I could just do away with those four things, that'd be awesome. So maybe we really need to get to singularity.
That's interesting.
Who knows? So far as we are in the system, though, all that shit is just so goddamn dangerous. With all this stuff of, I can jump higher than you, I can punch better than you, and I can run. You know, it's just, nah, man. Especially when somebody's got some fucking bionic legs that just touch you with a pinky and you've got a shattered spine or something. You know, it's ridiculous. Oh, and also in regards to the justice. I don't know if I should even share this. This is bizarre. This is more of a really old way of thinking that I'm going to share with you guys. But there is an American man called Larkin Rose that shared his view of when is it okay to shoot a cop. And he kind of... It's fucked up. I'm going to say it still. He bases a very good argument behind what he says. And he actually even says that, you know, most of the people, when even speaking those words, they have a knee-jerk conniption. That's what he said, you know. And I agree. Like, I mean, would you ever even consider, oh, fuck no, words like terrorist, vandal, fucking whatever else comes into mind, and they're all, quote-unquote, antisocial behaviors, as the, so to speak, normal people see it, you know. They don't want to fucking talk to you when you put on an anonymous mask. They're like, the fuck, you weirdo. You know, but there's a meaning behind it, but, you know, who's going to take time for it? So I just put a link there. I don't know if you guys ever want to see it, but yeah, I don't know. It's startling, but it's kind of relieving. It's like you're not crazy if you want to do that, because you're pushed to such an extent that, yeah, you get ideas, you know. And seeing all those people from Occupy, I mean, fuck me. This was some medieval shit, you know, all kneeling down in front of this asshole fucking spraying pepper mace into their eyes, just lined up, literally, and he just walks up and forward, just spraying that red chemical into their heads. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I think, you know, like police obviously conditioned, you have to have that sort of like conditioning and mentality in order to join the police force and to think that this system is right, yada, 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 all the rest of it. In order to go there, you know, I don't think it's ever right to kill anybody or even, you know, anything particularly. You know, I think eating meat and eating fish is, you know, there's ideas that we need to address through that. As a conscious being, you know, you feel. And I think it's the concept of bringing everything back to yourself.
Right.
Really, you know, if you were to kill a cop or something like that, that guy's got a family and
right.
whatever the same, you know. So it's never really right in that respect. But these people need to be, you know, that kind of level of indoctrination, as it were, needs to be addressed and slowly brought around. You know, what makes a guy mace all of those people for Occupy? You know, why is he doing it? When is he thinking he's doing something right? Work because he's been charged with this duty to uphold law and order and hasn't really questioned what this law and order and who's creating this law and order is based on. So it just needs to be addressed why that guy is macing those people that are essentially trying to have social change. Yeah.
I think.
Let me just add. I think another question that needs to be addressed on top of that would be why do so many of those people sit there and take it, and you know,
they want to. That's why.
Not violent. Sorry.
That's what protesters are there to do. They're there to get beaten down. They're there to prove that there is a violent oppressor.
Yeah.
But by and large, I'm sure
interesting.
I'm sure not all of them consciously.
I just think that a lot of people... Sorry, you go on.
No, that was it. No.
I think they're kind of no. I think they're kind of like, you know, like you say, they're obviously taking that victimized approach towards it. And if I'm victimizing this way, and I show myself to be victimized, then, you know, surely that'll create some sort of change in the world and stuff. Like, you know, then,
Alternatively, there's the "who the hell are you to spray pepper spray my eyes," which would be the getting up and punching him and then getting beaten the crap out of and arrested and having a criminal record.
yes. Yeah.
But I mean, like that in that situation, obviously their inactivity was justified because they were surrounded by policemen. I think. I mean, I don't know how I would react in that situation, but I think generally speaking, people have been conditioned into, and I hate to say it because it's a pretty stupid word, but cowardice. A lot of people have been conditioned into being really acceptive of what they've given without complaining about it, and without valuing themselves as much as others and as much as they kind of need to be.
That goes all the way down, like even like every concept that we're talking about here, and we're like trying to push forward. Like people that you talk about ideas like the Venus Project to people, and people just you know, just glaze over. They don't want to know. Like, you know, oh, let's not this.
What Tom just said, like, it is taught in primary school, like it's taught all the way through.
Yeah.
Accept your teacher. Don't look at them in the eye. They can give you detention.
Don't question anything they say.
Yeah, like my sister.
In prison, they can give you punishment. They can reward you for good behaviour, this vicious stuff. They give you a routine, all this.
And it may sound pessimistic what we're saying, but my little sister has said before many times when I've like brought this kind of thing up with her, she's in primary school, like she just believes wholeheartedly what her teachers say and what my parents say, like wholeheartedly. That's insane. That's disgusting. And she fears them. She fears their power that they have. You know, she fears detention. She fears punishment. She fears rejection. So it's not an exaggeration. It's in the hearts and the minds of most children in our civilization, and the effect of that's enormous. Yeah.
And you go back to, say, the family structure, and kids are born into servitude to the family. They displease their parents, they might not get fed. And I know kids don't necessarily know this consciously, but it's a part of it, and it's part of something they learn very quickly. And I know not all parents won't feed their kids for speaking out of church or something, but this kind of thing on a less exaggerated scale happens.
See, this is...
So what if kids were born and they were given food without the need for parents?
Sorry, I'll try to make this quick. Just the part where Ads and Tom, you guys made some interesting points in regards to the whole police. Like, you really seem to be kind of interestingly and intelligently divided, sort of on the it's not right to do this, but it's also who are you to spray the stuff in my face. And honestly, the answer, I guess, or at least a test of what you really think, would be to see at least one video of the Ukrainian riots. I saw, it literally just took me one video where I actually saw the rioters, I suppose, or what you want to call it, the uprising. One of the activists threw a Molotov, and he literally caught the dude's helmet. His head lit on fire, and at that one single moment, I almost started tearing up. I'm like, fuck, what has this gotten to? Like,
I think there's a difference between a protest and an uprising.
But it's literally like it's a tiny fission, isn't it? I mean, really, what if, Tom, your fucking example is exactly that breaking point of a person just even daring to think that thought? Who the fuck are you to spray this shit on my face? Stands up, kneels the motherfucker in the nuts, and then who knows how many join? And what would happen then? Who is to say that that's not to follow? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the question for me is, will being passive change anything? And is it not? Is it maybe in that situation, in this hypothetical situation, inevitable that there'll be violence and suffering? Because I know, like, obviously we seek the best alternative and the best, the one of least resistance, the one of least violence. But maybe it's inevitable that there'll be lots and lots of suffering if change is to come about.
Feeding your enemy.
Maybe.
Like, feeding the policeman's family so that he doesn't have to go and do that job. That would probably help.
It's education as well. I think if you can educate enough people in the way, I don't think this sort of like movement or anything like that is going to be won through protests or like violence or anything like that, because that really achieves nothing. You can't, you blow up cars in a riot and that doesn't achieve anything. It's really going to be fundamentally won on the education of the populace to sort of like turn around to sort of say, oh, that guy's feeding my family with all of these, this wage that I'm using, that I'm earning from keeping these people in check and stuff. To be able to have that person turn around and say, well, actually, no, there's a better way of doing this. I'm now educated enough to turn around away from that and not join in with your complete sort of belief structure of money. It is a base system, and to turn away from that.
I mean, obviously there are much better ways that we can change the world than with violence. But I think it comes down to values at the end of the day when we're asking the other question, which is, would you rather, if the option is literally to sit there and take it, and there's no non-violent approach, to sit there and take it or to violently rebel, then I think it comes down to values. And my input would be that I'd rather, I don't know, express myself emotionally. I'd rather sacrifice my pride, as we touched on at the beginning, than sacrifice my life for my pride. Even I'd sacrifice my safety for the fact of I don't want to be oppressed. I'd rather die. And I mean, this is just worst case scenario. Obviously, we want to create an abundance, and that should be centralized around changing the world.
Okay. I'm just curious. With all of this said, can we? I don't know if we ever do this, guys. Like, we meet up, we talk, but do we ever actually conclude? Like, we watch these videos, but do we actually ever sort of, 2.8 and 2.7 video, and do we conclude on something that we all agree with on the specific subject? Like, for instance, injustice. We now spoke of all these things. What is there that we sort of collectively can agree upon? What is the basis of everything that we talked about?
We need to change the justice system we've got. It's wrong, the current justice system. We don't need to blame people anymore. We need to get rid of that value. There's no need to blame people anymore or put fault on anybody. We need to rehabilitate and how can I put it? Yeah.
And so we do that by doing what?
Well, I mean, I think a way to summarize it would be that our current system is based on values which don't have an alignment to reality, and we need to readjust our approaches to societal management to the scientific method of thinking, scientific point of view, with a common goal of providing for the human condition globally. And that would be just reassessing why aberrant behavior exists and then approaching it scientifically. I think would be maybe a good conclusion.
Yeah. And just in addition, I would say that the justice system brings up these ideas of good or bad, and we've been saying this all the way through this today. I know we've got to mention this in words, but we can't escape the old bad language. But for instance, the thing you said was the thing earlier, Ludus, which was, is it ever right to kill a policeman? It's not really. I look at that and go, actually, the question really is there environments which generate behavior which would end up with me killing a policeman?
Thank you.
And there would be some. There would be some.
Yep.
And it obviously happens every day because policemen get killed every day. Remember that as well. If we're all thinking that our policemen are the evil guys, which I'm not saying we are at all. Yeah, I think the policemen are just as much victimized as us. Especially the kind of frontline grunt kind of person. We are the same class. It's divide and conquer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not this right or wrong. There's more appropriate methods. The environment can change these things. Just to kind of summary my little bit, which is in the justice video, you said we had to act the part of the guard. And that was because of his associative memory of what guards were like in TV, and because of the environment of being put in the position of being a guard.
Cool.
Yeah.
So shall we discuss the still consumption and poor quality, or do you guys want to break up?
We could do consumption next week if you guys are.
I'm in no rush.
Neither am I.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go over 10 minutes probably. There's not a huge amount here, I don't think.
No, I've just got one quick thing. One of my friends keeps questioning this when I talk about technological unemployment. He'll say, well, in the future, they've got to surely put some restrictions on automation. And at the beginning of the TROM video, I think it was the very beginning, they said something about limited automation. Is there limited automation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What does
is
that
like?
mean?
I didn't know. Like, you know, limiting how much they can use and how many, yeah. Making sure there's a chance for humans.
No need to have somebody in the shop anymore. There's a freaking vending machine. Have a massive vending machine. You know, there's no need for people to be stood working in shops.
The
You know what
first
I mean?
vending machine was installed in a London pub only about a month ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's still a guy working there, but there's actually I can't remember what it is, but there was a fast food restaurant in Amsterdam that I went to. There was just a wall of things, and you just slotted your money in. You got out some hot chicken wings, whatever you wanted. It didn't look particularly nice, but it's
Yeah.
where. So Mick, the first thing is if automation limited, well, our factories don't run 24 hours a day. They're dormant for a hell of a long time. Most factories, or at least underused during that periods. If things are automated, they should be running 24/7.
So, are we, like, is technological unemployment less of a threat than we thought it was? Because,
I think technological unemployment's a fucking great thing, because you could then take those people, if we had the system geared in a logical sense, you then take those people and go, okay, well, you know, there's no shop job for you to do anymore. What do you want to learn?
yeah, like, I love the idea of technological unemployment, but, like, I'm explaining this to my friend at work, as in, like, we're not going to have any jobs, we're not going to be able to pay for any food to eat anything, so, like, and he's saying, oh, well, they're not going to allow machines to take all our jobs. There's going to be, like, limited automation, so,
It's
like,
you know, like everybody rejoiced at the idea of a washing machine or a dishwasher, which like alleviates that human interaction that you have to do. Them, like, you know, alleviates. You should be rejoiced upon that you actually like that task has now been eradicated from humankind. You know, we don't have to do that anymore. Awesome, great. Instead of this, oh no, technology is going to destroy my job and I won't have any money. Yeah, well, fair enough, but that's in the system that we're in. If you had a system where people were logically taken to what they wanted to do, and the next thing, like, okay, we've eradicated the need to sweep the street because we've got a robot that does it, then what does that person want to do next, and what does that person want to learn, and what, like, you know, what can we utilize them for? You know, maybe, you know, building, I don't know, a ladder to Mars or something.
see, that's exactly what I'm saying to this guy at work. I'm saying, look, like, we can do a lot of other things if we get out of this system first. And if we don't get out of this system and technological unemployment comes in, then we are stuck without any food. So I'm trying to get across that we need to get out of this system to him. And he's saying, well, we're not going to suffer from technological unemployment where the economy is not going to collapse, is what he's saying.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's no question.
Go on, Lewis.
Sorry, no, it's just there's no question. Whatever the person is saying, he's projecting his own shit, which is completely fucking false. And not just because of Aaron Brynjolfsson, the guys from MIT, and Adam some shit. I can't remember his surname. Guys both went to TEDx, explained very, very simply what happens. Nigel, Jesus, so many names to know.
The Kodak guy, yeah.
Right, okay, so him also talking about no jobs. Many people, many. However, the most important ones are the ones who are imploring and using these systems. What do you think are the sweatshops in China? How the fuck are they different from taking away all your fellow national citizens' positions. Because all that shit could have been done by your fellow citizens.
It was
In America, in UK.
So it got eventually outsourced. You know, the Industrial Revolution, people were making sweatshops there. It just moved abroad.
Right. And that's exactly, how is that different? You see what I mean? And so there was literally an interview with one of the corporate managers who actually said, I think it was literally a segment from 60 Minutes, actually. And the journalist actually asked that manager, said, wait, so you're essentially saying that your robots now that you pay for is just a one-off buy, and it is, if not the same, then it's lower rate than what you would pay your average Chinese sweatshop worker. And he says, well, yes, if you will. So there is no question of, oh, is it gonna... No, it's happening. We just don't see it. It's not in your graffitis. It's not in your fucking art shops. And that's why the bourgeois are not really fucking feeling it, nor are the working class folks. They're still preoccupied with Jordan's tits and fucking weird shit.
I think a question to ask as well would be, what's going to happen when we have a machine that can do surgery 10 times better than 4 surgeons put together? What do we do then if these restrictions have been put on business and companies and services? Like, do we employ these people at the risk of others' lives just so that they have a job? Because it will get to that point.
Yes.
You're going to run into the same with truck drivers, taxi drivers.
Google driverless cars, of course. Well done.
Although I honestly think driverless lorries are going to be the first to really kick off.
Haven't they already got those dumper trucks?
Yes.
Yeah, they look awesome.
Yeah.
I just think to myself, how is something that big being like driven on its own? It's amazing.
See, Mick, going back to your original question of like why is automation being restricted at the moment? Is it kind of that bad? Are we like going to worry about this? Like, it isn't getting brought in so much for a couple of reasons. But one, you buy the one-off thing; it's expensive to sell.
Yeah.
Energy is still very expensive at the moment. We're working on completely inefficient designs. So, like the driverless car, for instance, could have been done so easily if we just designed a road system for the driverless car, and it would just be done. Whereas they actually have to work on roads with potholes and small children and all this stuff. And so it's incredibly complex. Whereas the actual system could be automated much simpler with like a grander design. Or grander.
I don't know. You guys all make sense, but it's just the same stuff. I don't know why I didn't actually brought in this concept of Volkswagen. The latest, the latest Volkswagen model that was developed in Germany actually will not reach USA. That's for certain, or at least as from the date of when I read the article. But also will not be released in certain European countries because it's over efficient. It will literally phase out the stuff that needs you to pour the fucking oil and gas and whatever the hell else nonsense, because it's something to do with the miles per gallon, quote unquote, but obviously it's not gallon because it's a fucking electric car. So it's basically to do with the efficiency and the horsepower of that model. It's too much. It competes too well with the Chevys and the whatever other car.
That's like it's like going back to basically what you're getting is you get liberal withholding of technology because it doesn't fit into the system that we've got to put them all intact economically. Economics is not a science, right? It is just speculation, and it is a belief system in this paper note that says I owe you this. So essentially, what we're getting stopped, what this technology in the rollout is getting stopped by, is just people's thoughts, just people's inability to conceive a new future.
Yeah.
I think this ties back into the law that we discussed at the beginning, because how laws used by others in power to subjugate the masses, etc., and propagate their own things. Whatever, because now we have these technologies that provide abundance and they're being patented and outlawed. are people who will suffer from it. The very, very tiny minority that will suffer from it. Or at least they'll think they'll suffer from it, but in fact they'd be living in a much richer world, and their insecurities and their wealth would become more valuable in a resource-based economy, I believe. And but anyway, it kind of ties back into the law, really.
I just put 2 documentaries in the chat box, the 1% and Born Rich, which were done by a guy called Jamie Johnson, whose like father owns Johnson & Johnson, some sort of massive company. I don't know if anybody caught he had like a 10-minute speech.
14.
14 minutes. Did you watch it, Lucas?
I did.
About being like Tom, one of the guys, Aiden Sue, he posted it and he said it's like, I think they call it system lock, where people are so comfortable, like to get to the next system would have to sacrifice their comforts or the ease of our lives to get to that next system. And I think that's what's like stopping a lot of people. They're scared of losing out on something, even though in the end result would be a shitload better.
Yeah. But the problem is, because I was having that with my mum actually the other day. I was trying to explain some of the stuff, like I tend to do quite a lot. Is she kind of was like, well, if we went to this, it means that all me and your dad, like, have been working for our lives would be not meaningless. I couldn't respond honestly, but I think like people are looking from that point of view, which is not what I'm kind of used to, I guess. So I did say like but you're getting access to more stuff, and surely you've been working for more than just the stuff in the house anyway, and no one's going to take it away.
It's a good point of sorry.
Wouldn't it be meaningless to hold back based on, like, I don't know, the hope that it would I don't know, I don't understand that. Like, because, I mean, the meaning, okay, so, no, sorry, I mean, I could pick that apart, but I don't see the point.
It's the mindset of, I've already eaten 3/4 of this ice cream, I now feel absolutely disgusting, but I'm going to eat the rest because I've come too far.
Yeah.
It's the mindset of the past like causing association, like the past making our decisions for us rather than the future. But based upon the past rather than...
I kind of look at it like, what do we want to stay? If we were in a medieval time, would we want to stay in the medieval time or go like past the Industrial Revolution? To me, I'd want to go past the Industrial Revolution and change society, but so many people are happy with this old system. I don't get it.
I think I do, but I'm curious how many of you guys actually applied this tactic, and please pick it apart if you got a problem with it. Absolutely, I would love to learn. Like Aiden's mother, right? You said all that work that we put into our lives, would be ignored. What is it you're putting your work towards? See, this is also a question. Like, it depends on their level of, are you a pilot, are you a surgeon, or are you fucking pumping shit out of a toilet and getting paid for it? In which case, do you really enjoy what? Like, even if it is pumping shit, do you get the sense of joy out of seeing something dirty become so clean? Because I've actually had this conversation with my fellow flatmate. Like, she literally said she knows a person who's a cleaner, and they love, and I love it because she actually pinpointed the grammar of motive. She said she loves to witness disorder become order, and it was done through her effort. I get it. I honestly fucking get it. But if your motive behind it is to actually get money, and then the money only is a fucking mediator to get you stuff, and to get you fruit, and to get you lap dancers, or whatever you want, then that's a different thing. That's a completely different thing. You don't need money nor your job to get those things. I don't know, I should have probably not used lap dancers, because that's not entirely RBE concept.
And not just that, like the woman that really enjoys cleaning the toilet, maybe she could take it a step further and design some sort of waste management system. You know what I mean? So that she could like progress even further, like exponentially with
I
technology.
think that goes down to just like pride in your work. So I think you obviously ultimately find pride in whatever she did. You know, she might find pride in designing a robot that does the cleaning, and then the cleaning happens, and then she can come back and go, yeah, I did that, but I didn't actually do that. The robot that I created did that. I think it's just like an innate human response to the work that they do to be proud of it. If a guy helps build a house, I've like driven around with builders before, and they're like, oh yeah, help build that house, or that was me, and stuff like that. It's just a human response to work.
Again, I probably wouldn't say inbuilt or this kind of thing to have pride in your work. Again, to me, it feels at least like you're going back to school and getting your papers graded. You want that. You want an A so you can be proud and tell your mom and stuff. But like, again, if we start going, there's not much free will, so how can I be proud of my work if I didn't do anything? And all this kind of stuff. I think I understand why people today take pride in their mindset, but I don't think it's going to be with us forever.
All right.
Yeah, like you say, it's just another environmental conditioning, just like everything else.
It depends, I guess, for the workers. If you do something, then you actually get some sort of positive reinforcement for it. Say, I don't know, you actually do some work which actually improves your life, and still, I think it might be a different word to pride. I don't know.
So, do we basically all sort of understand that? I mean, the subject of consumption and poor quality, we sort of did cover it, but it feels like it was covered from sort of very around ways. I don't know, I don't mean offense to anything, but it's just consumption and poor quality. So, all of this stuff so far, people are very proud of their work, whatever, they want money. Now, first and foremost, why would they take their kids to the park if they, for instance, knew that their very drive to maintain the money system, which is, by the way, based on the model of exponential growth, which is impossible on a finite planet. So that's already one impossible thing. However, all this exponential growth demands more and more shit to be destroyed. Now, what is it, Venezuelan forest? I'm not sure if you guys read this. Essentially, a company, I can't remember which, oil drilling company. They have now been basically allowed to drill one of the most lush and diverse places on the planet. Like, there's literally, they said in 1 acre of land, there's like over 10,000 whatever species of animal living, like organism living. So they're basically going to destroy that shit because oil is getting now even more scarce. So I'm just trying to think of this sort of like just a step-by-step basis. I mean, how do we speak to people that everything they enjoy, they directly are involved with to destroy? If they reinforce this system, if they love this shit. Oh, mate, yeah, I met this guy at work. Where do you work? Oh, I just fucking whatever, pat people down on the airport. Or I'm a bouncer, or I'm a whatever the fuck it is. But so long as you're in this system, you are still responsible, directly or not, with destruction of forests. Penguins are dying off, and deers are puking up fucking black liquid or whatever it is, and then you are still in it. So far as you don't understand that, you are literally perpetuating all values, and therefore killing the fucking earth. I mean, do you guys see any merit in trying to perhaps show that, yeah, you're not the guy with the axe in your hand, but there is still blood on your hands, and there is someone decapitated there. Yeah. I'm not saying you did it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's hard to get. If you say cyclical consumption to anybody, it's just going to go straight over there. It's like, how do we do it? It's like they don't care. It's like it's not affecting them here.
Yeah, that is the problem, I guess, today, mostly with the world of international transport and stuff like that, is we're affecting things well across the world with very little information of what's actually happening there. Like, if we could see the forest constantly getting cut down from all around the different world for grazing or something, there might be more of a change. I don't know.
So can we then all sort of come back to the same root cause of, yeah, Jacques' kind of hypothesis seems to be reinforced by what you guys have said, by what we observed, by Mick, you saying that it does go over their heads, and you saying that it doesn't touch them. I think I just sort of spoke prematurely, and I now remember that, yeah, you might be right. Like, speaking to all these folks, it seems to have that effect. So then we are essentially expecting more and more pain. Is that not?
Yeah, and like I think if we just, I mean, it's the same with like eating meat. I think as it is with like driving a car or catching a plane somewhere, we're part of something that is damaging the earth, but we've got no other choice right now. And like we can try to do as little of it as possible, but without those scenes in front of us, like if somebody's not plastering our Facebook with like mutilated cows or fucking deforestation, then it's out of sight, out of mind.
See, and this is the problem. I'm sorry, but I started thinking about it. What did I do when these people started fucking posting mindless bullshit and I called them quote unquote my friends? I stopped the function that allows me to see their posted shit. I mean, how many people, this is my thought process, how many people are doing the same shit to my posts? And hence, they're completely eliminating any effort that I put in to share this stuff that might just fucking spark a tiny bit of thought in their mind, like, oh wait, maybe it's done. It's like out.
Yeah, I think there's there's a fine line between brilliance and insanity, and that fine line is popularity. And at the present moment in time, this type of shit isn't popular because people are going to have to look at themselves and its responsibility to it is something big to get over. We're gonna we have to accept that we are responsible for this shit. We killed animals in, that orangutan thing that they had were dying for obesity and stuff like that. We're complicit in that, and people don't particularly want to see that about themselves or about the situation.
I describe it as like an alcoholic trying to face his problems. You know what I mean? Like the hardest thing is for them to accept that they've got a problem, and then they've got to do something about it as well, which is like double effort. And in this society, effort is not something most people have got.
Yeah, well, it's easier to turn on like keeping up with the fucking Kardashians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, people don't have time, which is the whole part of the consumption cycle, which is force people into labor and then give them no time off to do anything.
So what are we saying? I mean, obviously there were quite a few subjects dropped, and we are talking about essentially people just more or less ignoring, and if they're not ignoring, then they're going to turn your feed off and they're not going to see your stuff. Ads made another brilliant point. It's not popular, which unfortunately I have to fucking agree. Or at least in certain parts of the country. See, that's the thing. How many people even are aware that the fucking Brazil is rioting by saying, how can you spend all these billions on a fucking football field and you're not getting us better medical care and education?
Yeah. I think as well, like with regards to it's like guerrilla gardening and like learning to grow his own things. Once people see that like there's people around doing these projects, like trying to make sustainable schools, etc., or teaching different things. I think unless there's people like us trying to do any one of those things, then it's not going to get seen for a long time. So I think the more we do it, the more it'll be seen, and then the more it'll be seen to be.
Yeah, I think it's I'm sure like loads of people have probably said this over the years. Kevin Mao basically said like repeat something enough times, people begin to believe it's true. So unfortunately, what we've had repeated again and again and again is you can't do this, it's impossible to save the environment, there's no other way, the economy's this, the economy's that, it's just been force-fed down people's throats, and unfortunately, we like need to start sort of addressing that cycle and pushing back. Just keep pushing back. That's all we can really do, isn't it?
It feels like we're on the back foot, but just keep going. Just do anything.
The issue is we basically have no choices with a lot of these things. Like, like I went vegetarian and I was like, yay, that's me done. I'm good now. But now I'm going around Sainsbury's and I'm looking at where my vegetables come from, and there's like Kenya, Tunisia, really different countries, and like even this is the best fair trade. It's just a little pay rise. There's no difference in the situation. It's still exploiting the crap out of their countries, causing these people who either are slightly less educated because the systems are just a bit more primitive at this time to just burn the shit out of the forest, and then because for instance, I've been looking at Madagascar because I'm going there soon, and like about 80% of their forest is gone because just for land-based grazing and all that stuff. And like
palm oil and stuff like that. Well, that's it.
Sorry?
Palm oil's everything.
Yeah.
The amount of forest has been destroyed for that.
And the thing is, palm oil is like presented as an eco thing. It's useful for all these different things, and it's good for you, and it's all really, I don't know. Getting into language, I guess, again.
Okay, so essentially what are we saying? We need to get more effective in our use of PR, advertising, obviously solid knowledge in RBE concepts and of how and why the monetary system sucks and is actually bad for the person you're talking to. And then just what? More effective systems, essentially, of getting this stuff out. Is that how I understand?
Yeah, if we can give people things for free, then they'll see that they don't need to pay for them. At least it's going to take a long time as well, especially for things like growing your own food. I ain't got a clue where I've got an idea now, but even then, the strawberries in my garden compared to down on my friend's allotment are just fucking tiddly. So I'm not going to be able to say, I've got plenty of strawberries for me, and I've got plenty of strawberries for you. So it's going to take a long time to get up an abundance of something. But then once I've got an abundance, I can then say to the neighbours, look, here, you can have it for free, and if you want to learn how to do it, just let me know.
So
I think approaching people who are already susceptible to the ideas and approaching as many as possible in one sitting would be a general idea of where to aim for. And well, yeah, I think that covers it.
I think it's interesting because I play a lot of gigs too, and I try and say at these gigs I say I'm a advocate for the Venus Project. So if anyone wants to talk out, I usually use a line if anyone wants to talk about not servicing an imaginary debt that doesn't belong to us anyway, come chat to me at the end. Nobody fucking becomes a chance to do you know what I mean? It's the day somebody does, I'll be really happy about it.
Okay.
It's why they don't know that.
Well, if I said, I'm giving out a free DVD of Kim Kardashian's or whatever, everybody will fucking talk to us at the end.
That's an awesome idea. Just say that you're giving out Kim Kardashian DVD or free UFC DVD, and then inside have a disc that looks like it's UFC or Kim Kardashian, but it's penis with it.
Tell them there'll be Pie and Punch. If anyone gets that reference, well done. Tell them that there'll be Pie and Punch.
No, I don't, but it sounds funny.
South Park movie. South Park movie. Yeah. Maybe print. I've got business cards now, and I'm proper chuffed about them, but I've only given one away so far. And I think the prospect of giving someone a business card and it's in their hands and they can see links to websites and stuff. It's all ooh, nice and fancy and official. I think that would appeal to most people more than come talk to me because that's really personal and that's quite daunting for some people. So maybe an alternative would be to have a poster or some flyers and be give people a flyer every time you sell one of your albums or something, maybe. if you, if you do sell stuff at gigs.
I've actually got the designs made, and actually I need to get them printed.
Haha, sick. Oh, and also, you guys talking about posters. I'm pretty sure that is not as wild a stab in the dark as it may seem, because I just literally today finished watching, I don't know, for the 50th time, Owned and Operated, and in there, literally in that segment where they are, part 4 Awakening, they called it. It was literally a report, a UK report of a reporter holding a flyer saying, well, these people in here, they're saying they want to end the monetary system and they want to install a resource-based economy. And I'm like, what? That was crazy. So, but it does happen. So you guys, yeah.
That's good publicity. That's all we need, It's
yeah. All right.
Are we done?
Is that all?
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot now, guys. So I'll catch you next Monday.
Just before you go next week, guys, just going to do food and water because that's a half an hour lecture.
Yeah.
Half an hour video on one, so we'll just do that one section.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. See you later.
Take care, man.
See you, Rick.
Yep, good seeing you all.
Thanks for anyone who's watching the video. Bye.